Welcome to the channel Darkness in the Night. Today, I'll tell you a story that took place on the outskirts of Hanoi. In a small village, a place that seemed peaceful, yet hid secrets no one dared to mention after midnight. The village lay quietly amidst lush green rice fields. By day, the wind rustled through the stalks. Birds chirped merrily, and the farmers laughed heartily as they worked. But when night fell, only the sound of insects and the occasional distant bark of a dog echoed through the darkness. Amid that silence stood a small, old house, its white walls stained with moss, where Nam and Lan lived with their 5-year-old son. The house sat beside a narrow alley, right next to an ancient almond tree whose gnarled roots clutched the earth like twisted hands. In summer, its fallen leaves covered the yard, whispering dryly in the wind. Villagers often joked, that old tree in Nam's yard must be 100 years old. But others would lower their voices and say, that tree has a spirit living in it. That night, a light drizzle fell. The air was thick and damp, smelling of wet soil. Inside the house, only the steady hum of a fan broke the stillness. The family was fast asleep, until Lan suddenly woke with a start. Her heart pounded wildly. A chill ran down her spine, though she didn't know why. Through the wooden window frame, pale moonlight filtered in, and there, in that faint glow, she saw it, a shadowy figure standing motionless outside. It was tall and thin, with long loose hair and a faded traditional dress. It didn't move, it just stood there, as if staring straight into the room. Lan froze, holding her breath, eyes wide with fear. Sweat dampened her back. After a moment, she jolted upright and shook her husband. "Wake up, honey, someone's outside." Nam mumbled, half asleep. "Who would be out there at this hour? You must have dreamed it." "I didn't dream it," she insisted, trembling. "I saw it. An old woman with gray hair, wearing an ancient dress, staring right at us." Annoyed but uneasy, Nam sat up. "All right, I'll check. You and your ghost stories?" He grabbed a flashlight and stepped into the yard. The door creaked open. Before him, the alley was empty, utterly still. Only the croaking of frogs from the distant fields, and the rustle of the almond leaves in the breeze. He swept the beam around, then sighed and went back inside. "There's no one out there," he said. "You probably saw the shadow of the tree." Lan's voice shook. "No, I swear I saw it. The figure was right by the window, staring at little T." Nam frowned and glanced toward their son's room. The window was shut tight. He locked it again, just to be sure, and told Lan to lie down. But she couldn't sleep. The image of that figure lingered in her mind, vivid, chilling, unforgettable. The next morning, unease still clouded her thoughts. She told the neighbor, Mrs. Sao, what had happened. The old woman chuckled, waving it off. "Oh, don't be scared, dear. It was probably just the street light shining through the branches. Happens all the time here." But as Lan turned to leave, Mrs. Sao murmured softly to herself, "That almond tree. No one's dared go near it after dark for years now." That night, Nam came home late from work. The rain was drizzling, and thunder rumbled faintly in the distance. Lan bathed their son and tucked him into bed early. Near midnight, a chill ran down her spine again. Outside the window, the moon was hidden behind clouds, leaving only a dim, murky darkness. She heard it, the faint creaking of the wooden window. It sounded like someone had just touched it. Lan held her breath. The creak came again, longer this time. Who's there?" she whispered, her voice trembling. No answer, only a faint, icy sigh drifting through the air. Lan sat up and shook her husband. "Nam, wake up, listen." Nam bolted upright and grabbed his flashlight. The window was still closed, but a thin layer of fog covered the glass. In that misty film, a handprint appeared, 5 long, bony fingers, freshly pressed. Nam froze, heart pounding. He swung the window open, scanning the yard. Nothing. Just the wet darkness and the old almond tree standing black and still in the rain. A gust of cold wind swept through. He slammed the window shut and locked it tight. Lan clutched their son, tears welling in fear. "I told you," she sobbed. "There's someone out there." Nam said nothing. He didn't want to believe it. But the sound, that soft, rhythmic creaking, echoed again, as if someone was circling the house. They couldn't sleep that night. Each time the wind blew, the doors rattled, producing a slow, heavy knocking sound that made their hearts race. Knock, knock, knock. 3 knocks, clear and deliberate, in the dead of night. Lan gripped her husband's hand, trembling. "Did you hear that?" Nam nodded silently. He picked up the flashlight and approached the front door, his hands shaking, sweat cold on his forehead. The knocking came again, faster this time, urgent, almost like someone calling. He took a deep breath and unlatched the door. Outside, nothing. No one, only the wind whipping through, bending the almond branches low over the roof. Nam swept the beam across the yard and froze. A flash of white flickered beneath the tree. It looked like the hem of a long dress. He raised the light higher, heart thudding, but when the beam touched it, there was nothing there, just the silent, dripping trunk of the old tree. Nam backed away and quickly locked the door. Lan asked, her voice barely audible. "Did you see anyone?" "No," he said quietly. "But we shouldn't go outside tonight." They sat together, holding their child close under the faint glow of the lamp. Outside, the rain kept falling, steady and relentless, and now and then, a soft knock echoed at the door again, distant, hollow, like from another world. The next morning, Lan opened the window and froze. On the sill lay a single white jasmine flower, perfectly placed, still wet with dew. She didn't grow jasmine. No one in the village had any near their homes. Lan stared, her chest tightening. The faint scent of jasmine lingered in the air, sweet, yet strangely cold, carrying the sorrow of something long gone. That morning, the sky was gray and heavy, and a light breeze stirred the air. Lan swept the front porch, her eyes fixed on the old almond tree outside. She still couldn't stop thinking about the white jasmine flower from the night before. Nam, meanwhile, quietly took a shovel and walked out to the yard. He wanted to dig around the base of the tree, to see if someone had hidden something strange there. After a few shovelfuls, the blade struck something solid. When he dug it out, it was an old wooden box, carved with unfamiliar patterns, its lid sealed tight and covered in mold. Lan hesitated. "What is it?" she asked softly. Nam exhaled. "I don't know. Looks like it's been buried for a long time." He pried it open. A musty smell rose immediately. Inside were several yellowed sheets of paper and an old black and white photograph of an elderly woman with silver hair. Wearing a faded traditional dress, her eyes were sunken, her expression sorrowful. Lan trembled. "Oh my God, that's the woman I saw outside the window that night." Nam said nothing. The photograph was faded, but the sadness on the woman's face was unmistakable. In one corner of the photo, there was a smeared line of ink. July 1982, the house at the end of the alley, asterisk. From that day on, strange things began to happen. At dinner that evening, they heard slow, heavy footsteps on the roof. At first Nam thought it was a cat, but the sound was too heavy, the dragging steps of an old person. Lan whispered, her voice trembling, "Listen, isn't that coming from the roof?" Nam held his breath. Creak, creak. The tiles groaned, then fell silent. Moments later, the wind picked up outside, carrying faint murmurs like people talking. Lan clutched their son, eyes wide. "Do you hear that? Someone's whispering." Nam strained his ears, and he did hear it. A frail, wavering voice, barely more than the wind itself. "Give it back, to me, asterisk." He jumped, scanning the room, but there was no one. Lan's face went pale. "Maybe it's that box," she whispered. "We must have disturbed something that belonged to her." After thinking for a moment, Nam carried the box back to the tree. He placed it where it had been buried and covered it carefully with soil. Then he lit incense, bowed his head, and murmured an apology. The wind gusted through, bending the incense flame. And again, The whisper came, softer this time, fading away into the distance. "Thank you, asterisk." Lan heard it clearly. Tears streamed down her face as she grabbed her husband's arm. "You heard it too, didn't you?" she said. "Thank you." Nam nodded, his face drained of color. They thought it was over, but that night, after they turned off the lights, their son T suddenly sat up in bed. His eyes were wide open, staring toward the window. His voice was innocent, but eerily calm. "She's back." Lan's heart skipped a beat. "Who's back, sweetheart?" "The old lady with the gray hair," T said softly. "She told me not to be scared, she just wants to sit and play." Nam sprang up and pulled his son close. "Lie down, T, there's no one there." But the boy shook his head. "She's right there, by the window. She's looking at us." Lan turned slowly. The window was slightly ajar, the curtain swaying gently. In the dim moonlight, a shadowy shape flickered, as if someone were crouching, hands resting on the windowsill. Lan screamed. "Nam!" He lunged for the switch, light flooded the room. The shadow vanished, nothing but empty space remained. T burst into tears and buried his face in his mother's shoulder. Lan held him tight, her own tears falling. "Nam, there really is a ghost in this house." Nam swallowed hard, his voice hoarse. "I know, but we need to stay calm." He locked every door and left the lights on all night. Outside, the wind howled through the almond branches, sounding uncannily like quiet laughter. The next morning, Nam went to visit old Mr. Mao, the oldest man in the village. After hearing their story, the old man sat silently for a long time before speaking. "The house you live in used to belong to an old widow," he said. "She lived alone, no family. When she died, no one found her for days. People say her spirit never moved on. She still sits by the window, waiting for someone." Nam asked quietly, "What was her name?" "Her name was Madame Tu Lu," Mr. Mao replied. "That almond tree of yours, it was planted right where her window used to be." Nam stood frozen. Mr. Mao sighed. "If she's really appeared, it means she has unfinished business. Don't anger her, don't dig around that tree again. Light incense for her every night, maybe then she'll find peace." Nam nodded and thanked him. That evening, he did exactly as told, lit 3 sticks of incense and prayed in the yard. "If Madame Tu Lu is still here," he said softly, "please don't harm my wife and child. I'll keep this place safe so you can rest." The incense glowed red, the smoke spiraled upward, then spread out, forming the faint shape of a hand. Lan, standing behind him, whispered, "Nam, I think someone's standing right behind you." He turned, no one was there. But for an instant, he felt an icy breath brush across his shoulder. Lan quickly pulled him inside and shut the door. That night, the knocking came again, slow, steady, but deeper, as if from beneath the ground itself. Knock, knock, knock. 3 times, then silence. Nam looked at Lan, neither spoke. Between them, little T slept soundly, but in his dreams, he murmured softly, "Grandma, please don't cry anymore, asterisk." That night, the rain returned. Mist drifted lazily through the air, clinging to the walls in long, damp streaks. The wind rustled through the old almond tree, its leaves falling one by one and tapping softly against the window. Lan set dinner on the table, her eyes fixed on the window frame. "Nam, can we move somewhere else?" she asked quietly. Nam looked at her, exhaustion clouding his eyes. "We spent our whole lives saving to build this house." He sighed. "Where would we even go? And even if we did, who's to say it would stop?" Lan lowered her head, her voice trembling. "I'm so scared. Every night I see that shadow outside, and that old woman, she comes into my dreams." Nam stayed silent. He hadn't slept well for nights either. Each time he closed his eyes, the faint knocking returned in his mind, slow, steady, endless. Near midnight, just after they turned off the lights, a sudden gust of wind blew the window open with a crash. Rain splashed into the room. Lan clutched their son and screamed, "Close it, Nam, hurry. He ran over, slammed the shutters, and bolted them tight. For a split second, through the curtain of rain, he saw a figure standing by the tree, an old woman with silver hair. Head bowed. He froze, his hand still gripping the latch. Lan whispered, trembling, "You saw her, didn't you?" Nam didn't answer. He only nodded slightly. The figure stood motionless, still as stone. When lightning flashed, her face appeared faintly, the same as in the photograph. Hollow eyes, dark and deep, staring straight into the house. Thunder cracked. The light vanished. When Nam turned on his flashlight, the figure was gone. Lan wept, holding their son tightly. Nam spoke softly, "I think she wants something from us. Mr. Mao said her body was never properly buried. Maybe her spirit can't rest." Lan's breath came fast. "So what do we do now?" "Tomorrow," Nam said, "I'll ask Mr. Mao where her grave is." The next morning, the rain had stopped, though the air was still cold. Nam brought incense and fruit offerings to Mr. Mao's house. The old man led him behind the village, to an overgrown patch of land. He pointed. "That's where Madame Tulu was buried. Back in the 80s, no marker, no name. Everyone was too afraid to go near." Nam walked closer. Amid the tall grass stood a small mound of earth, covered in moss and green mold. He lit incense and whispered, "I live in your old house. If your spirit can hear me, please forgive us. Don't disturb my wife and child." The incense glowed red, the smoke swirling upward like a spiral. A sudden chill brushed past him, raising goosebumps, and in the wind, a faint voice drifted by, weak, broken. "Give it back, asterisk." Nam's eyes widened. "Give what back?" he asked aloud. No reply, only the soft scent of jasmine filling the air. He turned and saw, beside the mound, a single white jasmine flower, just like the one that had appeared on their windowsill. His heartbeat quickened. Beneath the flower, he noticed a damp scrap of paper, smeared with faded ink. "I miss my daughter, please don't throw my picture away, asterisk." Nam froze. He suddenly remembered, he had tossed that old photograph into the storage room. He hurried home, searched through the clutter, and found it, dirty and crumpled. He cleaned the photo, placed it in a frame, and set it on a small altar with incense. Lan stood behind him, whispering, "She only wanted to be remembered, didn't she?" Nam nodded quietly. "Yeah, I think that's all." That night, they placed the framed photo on the table and lit 3 sticks of incense. The air in the house felt lighter, calmer. The wind through the porch sounded gentle, almost peaceful. But just as the lights went out, there came a soft knock at the door, faint, almost polite. "Knock, knock?" Only twice. Nam looked toward the sound. Nothing but the shadow of the tree swaying outside. Then a voice, old, warm, and distant, floated through the air. "Thank you for remembering me, asterisk." Lan shivered, tears rolling down her cheeks. "Do you think she's gone now?" she whispered. Nam didn't answer. He simply stared at the old tree outside, its branches trembling in the moonlight. And then, a faint white glow rose slowly above it, drifting higher until it faded into the night sky. Their son T stirred in his sleep, smiling softly. "Mom, Grandma's going to heaven," he mumbled. Lan gently stroked his hair, her heart finally at ease, at least for a moment. But the next morning, something made their blood run cold. On T's windowsill lay another white jasmine flower, identical to the first one. Its fragrance was fresh and sweet, but beside it was the print of a tiny hand, made of ash, pressed neatly against the wooden frame. Nam stood frozen. Lan whispered, her voice breaking, "Nam, what if it's not just the old woman anymore?" For the past few days, Nam's house had been eerily quiet. No more knocks at night. No more cold gusts sweeping through the dark hours. Lan started cleaning again, trying to chase away the lingering fear. At noon, sunlight streamed softly through the window, and tiny dust particles shimmered in the air. Lan gently wiped the framed photograph of the old woman on the table, then froze. In the picture, behind the old woman, a faint shadow appeared, the shape of a small child hiding behind her back. Lan blinked hard, her heart pounding. She clearly remembered before. The photo showed only the old woman. There had never been anyone else in it. "Nam, come here, quick," she called out. Nam hurried in and looked at the photo. His face hardened. There wasn't a child in this photo before. "I know. Look, a little girl in white. Her face is so blurry. Maybe it's just a reflection, sunlight or the glass," he muttered. But even as he said it, unease gnawed at him. He removed the picture from the frame and held it under the light. The child's shadow was still there, not a reflection. Lan's voice shook. Could it be her daughter? Nam said nothing. He lit a cigarette, exhaling slowly toward the porch. "I remember Mr. Mao once told me Madame Tu Lu had a daughter," he said quietly. "She went missing when she was 6. The whole village searched for months. No one ever found her body." Lan gripped his arm. "You think that child is her?" Nam's gaze drifted into the distance. "I don't know, but if it is, maybe she was never buried." That night, T couldn't sleep. He whimpered, tossing and turning, then cried out, pointing toward the window. Lan sat up and held him. "What's wrong, sweetheart? Bad dream?" T sniffled, his voice trembling. "Mom, there's a little girl outside. She asked me to come play. She said, I live here too." Lan's face went pale. She clutched him tightly, looking toward the window, only darkness, with faint moonlight glinting through the leaves of the almond tree. T rubbed his eyes. "She's wearing white, with long hair, and she keeps smiling." "Mom?" Lan's whole body went cold. She turned to Nam, eyes wide with fear. Nam walked to the window and pulled the curtain aside. The yard was empty, yet through the wind, he heard it, soft, childish giggling, faint but distinct, echoing in the night. He closed the curtain and pulled T close. "It's okay," he whispered, "just a dream." But around midnight, the laughter returned, closer this time, right outside the door. Then came it again. Knock, knock, knock. 3 soft, even knocks. Lan held her breath. T buried his face in her chest. Trembling, Nam grabbed a flashlight and walked toward the door. "Who's there?" No answer. He slowly opened it a crack and shone the beam outside. The light swept across the yard and stopped on something lying on the doorstep, a small, old doll, soaked from the night dew. Nam picked it up. The doll wore a white dress, its tangled hair dripping, one glass eye missing. Lan approached, whispering, "Oh my God, that doll. It's the one the child was holding in the photo." Nam clenched his jaw and placed the doll on the altar beside the framed picture. Moments later, the lights in the house flickered wildly. T screamed, wind howled through the cracks. Incense flames burst and died out. And then, in the darkness, a faint, childlike whisper drifted through the air. "Mommy, I'm cold, asterisk." Lan screamed and collapsed. Nam wrapped his arms around her and their son, trying to stay calm, but his heart was pounding like a drum. He knew now, something was terribly wrong. The next morning, he went to see Mr. Mao again. After listening carefully, the old man sighed deeply. "That shadow of a child," he said slowly. "It must be Madame Tu Lu's daughter. She died unjustly. The river swept her away, and no one dared speak of it." Nam's face went pale. "Then, her spirit is still wandering?" Mr. Mao nodded grimly. "A child who dies in fear often loses the way. You must find where she died and offer incense there. If not, she may pull her loved ones with her." A chill crawled up Nam's spine. Mr. Mao handed him a rough, hand-drawn map. "This marks the bend in the river, the old Bao Se area. People saw a white dress floating there once, but no one dared to retrieve it." Nam gripped the map tightly. He had made up his mind, he had to help the child find peace. Only then could his family be safe. Lan grabbed his hand, pleading, "Don't go alone, that place is dangerous." "I have to," he said firmly. "I won't let our son be taken." He looked toward the altar. The photo of the old woman sat silently, but her eyes seemed to follow him, filled with sorrow. That night, before bed, Nam heard T murmuring again. He peeked into the room and saw his son smiling, whispering to someone unseen. "Yeah, Daddy's going to the river tomorrow? I know, you said don't let him go, it's dangerous." Nam's blood ran cold. He rushed in. "Who told you that?" T looked up innocently. "The little girl at the window. She said if Daddy goes, she'll be sad." Nam froze. Outside the window, a small handprint was pressed clearly against the glass. He stepped closer. The mark was fresh, still glistening with moisture. And as the wind rose again, he could hear it, faint, rhythmic splashes in the distance, like someone calling him from the river. Early that morning, Nam packed a few simple things: a bundle of incense, a bottle of oil, some yellow chrysanthemums, and the hand-drawn map Mr. Mao had given him. Lan was already awake, her face pale with worry. "You're really going?" she asked quietly. "I have to," Nam said. "If I don't, our family will never have peace." Little T stood by the doorway, clutching the old doll tightly. "Dad, don't go," he pleaded. "The little girl said if you go there, you'll be pulled into the water." Nam froze. His son's words sent a chill down his spine. He knelt and stroked the boy's hair. "Don't listen to that, son. I'll go and come right back." Lan gripped the hem of his shirt, her voice trembling. "When you light the incense, come home right away. Don't stay there long." Nam nodded, then stepped out of the yard. The morning sun was pale and weak, the alley silent and still. The Baosei River lay nearly a kilometer away. Both banks were lined with tall reeds swaying in the cold wind. The water was dark and murky. Nam stopped at the river's edge. The air felt heavy. The only sound was the slow, rhythmic splash of water against the muddy shore. He unfolded the map, found the spot Mr. Mao had marked. A moss-covered rock jutted out from the bank. There, he planted the incense sticks and whispered, "If this is where the child was lost, please give me a sign. I'll build a grave so your spirit can rest." A cold gust swept past, raising goosebumps on his skin. The incense trembled, its smoke curling into a spiral. Nam bowed and suddenly heard laughter, faint, high-pitched, from across the river. He turned sharply. Nothing. Just the glimmer of white, a small figure behind the reeds. No taller than a 6-year-old child. Nam's voice quavered. "Child, is that you?" The white shape tilted its head slightly, then vanished. A soft splash followed, like someone stepping into the water. Nam rushed forward, shining his flashlight over the surface. The river looked still and black, until something pale and white rose briefly to the surface, then sank again. He dropped to his knees, voice shaking. "Show me where you are. I'll help you rest in peace. I promise." The wind roared through the reeds, bending them flat. Amid it, he heard a fragile, distant sob. "I'm cold, I'm scared, asterisk." Nam trembled. He took the bouquet of flowers and set it afloat on the river. As soon as the petals touched the water, a tiny, ghost-pale hand emerged and grasped them. Nam gasped and stumbled backward. The hand clutched the flowers tightly, then slowly sank beneath the surface. The river stilled. The incense went out. By late afternoon, the sky had turned gray again. Nam gathered his things and hurried home. But as he reached the end of the alley, he saw a little girl standing in the middle of the road. Facing away from him, long wet hair clinging to her back. He slowed his steps. "Little one, who are you?" She didn't answer, just stood still. Nam raised the flashlight. Its beam lit her skin, pale like candle wax. Then she turned around. Her face was streaked with mud, her eyes dark hollows, and she smiled faintly. "Why did you take my toy, asterisk?" Nam looked down. In his hand was the old doll. He hadn't realized he was still carrying it. Before he could speak, the girl stepped forward, her bare feet leaving wet prints on the ground. "Give it back, asterisk." The voice stretched out, echoing like it came from underwater. Nam quickly set the doll down on the ground and backed away. The girl picked it up, hugged it to her chest, and dissolved into the misty drizzle. When Nam reached home, his face was white as chalk. Lan ran to him. "What happened?" "I saw her," he whispered. "Who?" "The child. She's still there, in the river." Lan grabbed his hand. "Did you light the incense for her?" "Yes," he said quietly, "but she wanted her doll back." They both turned toward the altar. The spot where the doll had been, empty. T walked out holding the photo of the old woman. "Mom, Grandma too is smiling," he said. Lan looked closely, and indeed, the woman's lips in the picture were slightly curved, the faintest trace of a gentle smile. Nam swallowed hard. He looked at his son, then toward the yard. The night wind rustled through the almond leaves. From far away, the sound of the river echoed softly, rhythmic, hollow, like someone knocking. Knock, knock, knock. That night, the rain fell steadily. The house was dark, lit only by the faint yellow glow of the oil lamp flickering on the altar. Lan sat silently, eyes fixed on the old woman's photograph. The woman's lips were curved, still smiling, but not the gentle smile from earlier that day. It was longer now, crooked, as if she were trying to hold back tears. Lan whispered, "Nam, come here, look at this." Nam, who was repairing an outlet, walked over. He squinted at the photo. "Wait, why does her smile look different now?" "I don't know. It looked soft before, now it's eerie." The wind brushed against the window, rustling the curtain. Outside, even the insects had gone silent. Lan clutched her husband's arm. "Turn off the light, let's see if anything changes." Nam hesitated, then dimmed the lamp. The room sank into a hazy half-darkness. Suddenly, in that faint light, the woman's eyes in the photo glimmered, a brief flash, like someone had struck a match inside them. Lan gasped and stumbled back. "You saw that, didn't you?" Nam quickly turned the light up again, his heart pounding. The eyes looked normal now, but on the collar of the old woman's dress, a dark smudge had appeared. It looked like the print of a hand. Lan's voice shook. "Nam, look closer." He removed the frame. The back of the photo was intact, but near the bottom, faint lines of ink were scrawled in shaky handwriting. "Don't look for her. She's already here." Nam stared at Lan. Both of them froze. That night, Nam spread a mat and slept in the altar room. Determined to keep watch, Lan soothed their son to sleep in the next room, while the rain pattered gently on the tin roof. Around midnight, Nam woke with a start to the sound of something knocking softly in the corner. He switched on the light, nothing. Only the photo frame, tilted slightly, as if someone had touched it. Then, a small voice whispered behind him, a child's voice. "Uncle, why did you bring me home?" Nam spun around. No one, only the curtain fluttering in the wind. He took a deep breath. "I didn't take you," he muttered. "I just wanted to help." A sharp crack rang out. The frame fell to the floor, glass shattered. The photograph began to burn at one corner, the edges curling inward. There was no smoke, only a strange, bright glow that spread wider and wider, forming the outline of a small hand holding the old woman's hand. Nam stood frozen, drenched in sweat. From the other room, Lan screamed, "Nam, 'tis crying." He said someone's pulling his leg. Nam rushed in. The boy was curled up, his small foot bruised, his eyes wide with terror. "Daddy," T whimpered. "The little girl said I have to go with her, she's so sad." Lan clung to her husband's shoulder, trembling. "Look at his leg, it's like someone grabbed him." Nam gathered his son into his arms, scanning the room. "This can't go on. Tomorrow I'll ask Mr. Mao to bring a priest." Lan nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so scared, Nam." Outside, the wind howled. The lamp flickered, then went out. In the darkness, the old woman's photograph glowed faintly. Her smile had stretched unnaturally wide, all the way to her ears. And behind her, a shadow appeared, a child standing close, head tilted, clutching a doll in one hand. The little girl whispered softly, "I'm home now, Mommy, asterisk." Lan fainted. Nam pulled T into his arms, backing into the corner, his whole body shaking. Then, just as suddenly, the lamp flared back to life. The photo was normal again, only the old woman remained. But on the glass, 4 small handprints glistened with moisture. The next morning, Mr. Mao arrived. He looked around the house, sighed deeply, and said, "I knew this would happen. The mother and child, they've become one. Neither wants to leave the other." Nam's voice trembled. "What do I do now?" "Tonight," Mr. Mao said, "at the exact hour they died, take the photograph to the almond tree. Burn it there. Scatter the ashes into the river. If you don't, your family will never be free." Lan clutched her husband, sobbing, "Please, don't go. I can't bear it. I have to." Nam said firmly, "If I don't, our son won't survive this." He kissed T on the forehead. Outside, dark clouds gathered, and thunder rumbled in the distance. Then came it again, 3 soft, deliberate knocks at the door. Knock, knock, knock. No one dared move. The curtain swayed gently in the wind, and through the gap, a tiny pale hand rested on the window bars. The afternoon sky was overcast. A thin, ghostly mist seemed to veil the whole neighborhood. Nam quietly gathered what he needed: a bundle of incense, a strip of red cloth, a bottle of kerosene, and the old woman's photograph wrapped in white paper. Mr. Mao stood on the porch, his voice rough. "Tonight at the 3rd watch, around 2 in the morning, go to the almond tree and burn it. Remember, don't speak, and don't look back, no matter who calls you." Nam nodded, tension in his eyes. Lan clutched his hand and whispered, "Nam, I have a bad feeling." "It'll be all right," he said. "Mr. Mao will go with me. I'll do it and come right home." Their little boy tugged at his mother's shirt and murmured, "Daddy, don't make the little friend cry again, she's getting mad." A chill crept up Nam's spine. He turned away, picked up the bag, and started down the dirt path toward the hill. The almond tree emerged from the night fog, towering, gnarled, like a hulking beast in the dark. Mr. Mao planted incense and chanted under his breath, "If there is grievance, let it be resolved. If there is hatred, let it dissolve." Nam laid the photograph at the base of the trunk, poured kerosene over it, and struck a flame. Fire leapt up, throwing a stark glow across his face. In the flicker, the woman in the photo smiled gently, nothing like the twisted grin from before. Nam exhaled in relief. But within seconds, the fire turned a pale, unnatural blue. Wind surged. A child's voice circled them, echoing from everywhere. "Don't burn it, I can't leave yet, asterisk." Nam shuddered and glanced at Mr. Mao. The old man frowned, gripping the incense with trembling hands. "Don't listen, keep going." The wind howled harder. Almond leaves came down in sheets. Through the blue smoke, a small figure took shape, a little girl in a floral shirt. Hair tangled, eyes black and endless, she stepped toward Nam, her voice quivering. "I'm trapped, in there, don't burn me, asterisk." Nam staggered back, his voice catching. "No, I'm trying to set you free." The child lifted her face, and it began to melt, like wax under the flame. "Daddy, why are you burning me, asterisk?" Nam cried out and lunged to stamp out the fire. "Don't," Mr. Mao barked. "It's a trick." The blue blaze flared bright red, roaring up to a man's height. From within, a child's sobs rose and fell, mingled with a woman's laughter. "Now mother and daughter can stay together forever, asterisk." Nam collapsed, his hand seared with heat. Mr. Mao dragged him back, scattering salt around the roots while muttering prayers. The wind slammed against them. Ash spiraled upward in a whirling column, and then, in an instant, the fire died. Only black cinders remained, heavy with a choking, burnt stench. Panting, Mr. Mao wiped his brow. "It's done, it should be quiet now." Nam looked down. Amid the ashes lay a single scrap of photo, half the old woman's face, and beside it, a small child's hand clasping hers. They returned home. Lan rushed out, anxious. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine," Nam said. "It's all burned." Their son slept soundly, but his lips moved, mumbling, "Mom, I'm home." Lan bent to pull up the blanket, and saw a long, silver-white hair beneath the pillow. She lifted it, trembling. "Whose hair is this, Nam?" He stared. It was exactly like the old woman's hair from the photo. "Maybe the wind blew it in," he muttered. Lan's voice tightened. "I locked the doors. There is no wind." Suddenly, 3 soft, distinct knocks sounded at the door. Knock, knock, knock. Nam stiffened, gripping his flashlight. Mr. Mao turned toward the entry, his voice hoarse. Who would come at this hour? He cracked the door open. No one stood outside. Only an old funeral headband hung over the gate, soaked with rain. Mr. Mao lifted it, studied it, and sighed deeply. "This is bad," he said. "She hasn't left." It was past midnight. The lights in Nam's house were off, and everyone had gone to bed. Mr. Mao sat alone in the outer room, fingering his prayer beads, muttering chants under his breath. Outside, the wind whispered through the almond tree, the rustle of its leaves stretching into long, low moans that curled around the roof. Nam tossed and turned, unable to sleep. The image of the blue fire, the crying and laughter tangled together, kept replaying in his mind. Lan turned toward him, whispering softly, "Are you still thinking about what happened tonight?" "Yeah, I keep feeling like someone's watching me," he said quietly. Lan gripped his hand, her palm ice cold. "As long as we're together, no ghost can hurt us." Before she could finish, a faint voice drifted in through the window. "Nam, asterisk." Nam jerked upright. The voice, it was his own. He swallowed hard, heart pounding. Lan had heard it too, her voice trembled. Who called you?" "I don't know, but it sounded like me." The call came again, longer this time, a strange, watery echo. Nam, asterisk. It was human, yet distant, as if rippling up from underwater. From the outer room, Mr. Mao coughed and spoke hoarsely. "No one move, no one speak, it's testing you." Lan hugged their son tight, tears in her eyes. Nam sat frozen, every hair on his neck standing on end. Then the voice outside chuckled softly. "I know you see me. Nam, asterisk." Nam grabbed his flashlight. "I have to see who it is." "Don't," Mr. Mao shouted, but too late. Nam flung the door open. The yard lay in darkness, shrouded in mist. Moonlight filtered faintly through the branches of the almond tree, painting thin silver lines across the ground. He swept the beam across the yard, and froze. A figure stood at the edge of the courtyard, back turned toward him. Nam's voice shook. "Who's there?" The figure didn't move, only tilted its head slightly. Then a voice, identical to Nam's own, replied, "It's me. Come here, asterisk." Nam's blood ran cold. "Who are you?" "I'm you, asterisk." The figure laughed, a dry, rasping laugh, like air scraping through cracked wood. Nam aimed the flashlight higher, but the beam couldn't touch the face. He stumbled backward. Mr. Mao burst out of the house, flinging a handful of salt toward the shadow. A sharp sizzle echoed, as if something were burning, and the shape dissolved into the night air. A gust of wind slammed into them, whipping dust into Nam's eyes. He fell to the ground. Mr. Mao dragged him back inside and slammed the door shut. "It's taken your image," the old man said gravely. "It's using your voice to lure your family out." "But why me?" Nam stammered. "Because you started the ritual but didn't finish it. It's still bound to you, and it wants to pull you with it to complete what was left undone." Lan burst into tears. "Dear God, what do we do?" "Stay inside until sunrise," Mr. Mao said firmly. "No matter what you hear, don't answer." The night stretched endlessly. Then came it again, 3 knocks. Calm and deliberate. Knock, knock, knock. Followed by Nam's voice, or what sounded like it. whispering from outside. Lan, open the door, I'm hurt, please, asterisk. Lan trembled. No, you're already here with me. The voice replied, softer, almost pleading. No, I'm outside, then who's in there with you, asterisk? She clutched her son tighter and screamed. Go away, I don't believe you. Silence, only the wind howled in response. Mr. Mao whispered his prayers, his hand shaking around the oil lamp. The flame flickered wildly, tilting as though something unseen were breathing on it. Then came a faint scraping sound, from beneath the floorboards. Lan shrieked. Mr. Mao scattered salt and chanted louder. Nam pulled his wife and child to the corner of the room. From between the floorboards, a tiny blackened hand reached out and grabbed Nam's ankle. He yelled, kicking free. The hand recoiled and vanished. The air went still. The flame steadied and burned quietly once more. Mr. Mao sighed. It's not gone yet, but at least tonight. No one was taken. Nam sat trembling, drenched in sweat, the sound of his own heartbeat loud in his ears, mingling with the faint, lingering whisper that still echoed in his mind. Nam, asterisk. Dawn broke after a sleepless night. Nam gazed out into the yard. The old almond tree still stood there, silent and still. Dry leaves carpeted its roots, swirling lightly in the early wind. Lan sat by the bed, holding their son close. Mr. Mao looked at Nam, his voice hoarse. We can't let her spirit wander anymore. The almond tree was only where she hid. The real curse lies at the temple at the edge of the village. Nam clenched his fists, determination flickering in his tired eyes. I'll go. Whatever waits there, I have to end this. Lan's lips trembled. When you go, come back to us. She handed him a small wooden bracelet, the one they bought together on their wedding day. Nam slipped it around his neck, nodded, and stepped onto the dirt path. The temple sat alone on the outskirts of the village, near the forest's edge. Its walls were coated in moss, roof tiles broken, wooden doors cracked and dry. A weathered sign hung crookedly above the entrance, only a few faded words still visible. Asterisk, the lonely shrine. Mr. Mao followed, carrying an oil lamp, mumbling prayers under his breath. The wind swept through the trees, spinning dead leaves around their feet. Nam pushed open the door. The hinges groaned, long and low, like someone sighing. Inside was pitch dark. On the old altar sat a cold incense bowl covered in thick dust. A small photo leaned against the wall. Nam brushed it clean, his heart stopped. It was the same old woman from before. He staggered back, pulse racing. Mr. Mao, is that really her? The old man nodded gravely. Yes, she died here. The villagers were too afraid to tend her shrine. Her resentment festered. That's what you've been seeing these past nights. Nam knelt, poured water, and lit incense. I never meant to offend. Please, release my family. The smoke thickened, curling upward. Then, suddenly, the lamp went out. Darkness swallowed the room whole. A weary sigh came from behind him. Nam spun around. The old woman stood there. Her hair hung loose and gray. Her wrinkled face pale, eyes deep as a well. But strangely, she no longer looked angry. Her voice drifted like wind through a narrow crack. I never wanted to harm anyone. I only wanted to find my child, asterisk. Nam's voice shook. Your child? Who is it? She's buried beneath that almond tree. No one ever knew. I lost her, then I died in grief. I couldn't leave, asterisk. Her voice faltered. But someone burned the place where I rested. I thought I was being cast out. So I raged. But now I remember, your child. He's mine, asterisk. Nam froze. No, that can't be true. He has a mole on his neck, doesn't he? Just like my child did, asterisk. Nam's breath quickened. Mr. Mao gripped his shoulder. Don't panic. Spirits can mistake the living. But the old woman stepped closer, eyes glistening with tears. I'm not mistaken. Her soul lives within your boy, so I could see her again. Please, let me hold her one last time, asterisk. Nam's throat tightened. He remembered his son's sleep talk that night, asterisk, Mom. I'm home. His voice cracked. If you're truly her mother, please don't take him away. I won't, I just want peace, asterisk. She knelt, lifting the photo in both trembling hands. The incense smoke curled into a pale ring of light. The flame on the altar rose higher, bathing her face in a soft glow, her expression now calm. Almost kind. Mr. Mao folded his hands in prayer. The old woman looked at Nam one final time and whispered, "Thank you. Now, I can go, asterisk." Her form dissolved into the swirling smoke, vanishing like morning mist. On the floor lay a single silver hair draped across the photo. By the time the first rays of sunlight broke through the trees, it was over. Nam and Mr. Mao walked home. Lan rushed out to greet them, tears and relief mingling on her face. Their son woke up, smiling sleepily. "Mom, Grandma's not crying anymore. She went far away." Lan hugged him tightly, her tears falling fast, frightened yet freed. Nam looked out at the porch. The almond tree stood motionless, its leaves utterly still. Then, from the distance, came that familiar sound, 3 gentle knocks. Knock, knock, knock. Nam walked to the door and opened it. No one stood there, only a single wildflower lay on the doorstep, still wet with morning dew. He bent down, smiled softly, and whispered, "Rest in peace, Grandma." A soft breeze drifted past, carrying the faint scent of incense, a final goodbye. A few days later, peace seemed to return to Nam's house. The boy was healthy again, laughing and playing as if nothing had ever happened. Lan smiled more too, though sometimes she still startled when the wind whistled across the porch. Nam, however, was different. He often sat in silence, staring out at the old almond tree. In his mind, the old woman's voice still echoed. "Your child has a mole on his neck, asterisk." One afternoon, there was a knock at the gate. It was Mrs. Ba, the neighbor from next door. She lived alone, quiet and withdrawn, rarely speaking to anyone. Leaning on her cane, her wrinkled face serious, she spoke slowly. "I heard you burned the almond tree, and nothing bad happened?" Nam nodded. "Yes, ma'am, thanks to Mr. Mao. Everything's fine now." Mrs. Ba squinted toward the tree. "Fine? You think it's that simple? That tree doesn't hold just one spirit. Someone else died there too." Lan froze, setting down the kettle. "What do you mean, someone else?" The old woman sighed. "About 20 years ago, a young pregnant woman lived here. Her husband left her, no family, no home. People thought she'd gone mad and avoided her. She rented this very house. Then one night, she vanished. In the morning, they found a trail of blood leading to that tree. From then on, folks called it the haunted almond tree, asterisk." Nam went pale. What happened to her body? No one dared to dig. The men in the village just buried it there and walked away. The room fell silent. Their son came running in from the yard, his hands covered in dirt. "Daddy, look what I found." In his little palm lay a blackened silver bracelet, bent and tarnished, engraved with a lotus flower. Mrs. Ba's eyes widened. She stumbled back. "Good heavens, that's hers. She wore that every day. Said it was her wedding gift." Lan's voice trembled. "Are you sure? I remember it clearly. Her name was Han. Poor thing, died before her baby was born. But what's strange, the old woman's eyes flicked toward the boy. They say there's a child in this house now, about 5 years old, with a mole on his neck." Nam's stomach turned cold. Sweat ran down his back. Lan clutched their son tightly, fear spreading across her face. Mrs. Ba lowered her gaze. "I don't mean to speak ill, but beware, when the old soul hasn't left, and the new one hasn't fully arrived, strange things can happen." Then she turned and hobbled away, her frail figure fading down the narrow alley. The wind rose, shaking the almond leaves. They fell one by one, whispering against the ground. like the sound of footsteps retreating. That night, Nam couldn't sleep. He stepped outside and sat beneath the tree. The crescent moon hung low, and the air was cold enough to bite. He whispered to the darkness, "If what she said is true, then who is living inside my son?" The wind answered only with the soft rustle of leaves, like someone quietly laughing. The boy opened the door and stepped out, his eyes half closed, voice dreamy. "Daddy, don't be afraid. I'm still here." Nam held his breath, staring at him. A thin trickle of blood seeped from the small mole on the child's neck, running down in a dark red line. Nam's heart stopped. He turned to call Lan, but the boy lifted his head. His eyes were empty. "Ms. Han hasn't left yet. Daddy, asterisk." A sudden gust roared through the yard, snuffing out the oil lamp inside. In the pale moonlight, Nam saw his son's face changing, half of it still his little boy, and the other half becoming that of a young woman, eyes glistening with tears. Lan woke in the middle of the night. The world was pitch black. The only light, a thin ribbon of moonshine slipping through the crack of the door and pooling faintly on the floor. She didn't hear Nam. Their son's place beside her was empty. She shot upright. "Nam, Nam." No answer. Even the insects outside had gone silent. Barefoot, she stepped out to the porch, the ground icy beneath her feet. In the distance, a dim oil lamp flickered beneath the almond tree. Nam sat there, holding their son in his arms. The boy was motionless, his eyes half open, lips trembling as if whispering to someone unseen. Lan's voice quavered. "My God, what are you doing?" Nam didn't look up. His voice came out rough, trembling. "Look at him. He was talking to someone. I heard it, two voices. One was our boy, the other was a woman." Lan fell to her knees, tears spilling down her face. "Sweetheart, what were you saying? Huh?" The boy turned his head toward her, smiling faintly. "Don't be scared, Mom. I love you. And she just wants to see her child again." Lan clutched him tightly, shivering. His small body felt cold, too cold, like she was holding something no longer entirely human. Nam's heart sank. "So it's true, what Mrs. Ba said. That woman, Han, she's still here." The boy blinked slowly, his voice softening to a whisper. "She says she died unfairly. No one remembered her. She wants you to help her find her name again." Nam's grip tightened on the boy's hand, his breath quick and shallow. "Tell me, son, who killed her?" The boy shook his head. "She doesn't remember, only that the man smelled like liquor and there was a jingling sound, like keys." He dragged her out to the almond tree. Lan went still. Nam's voice rose, hoarse with anger. "It was How." Lan gasped. "What are you talking about?" "I heard the old folks mention him once. How worked security at the lumber mill back then, drank all the time. The night she vanished, he got drunk and disappeared for days. Then he left the village. Nobody ever talked about it again." The wind swept through the yard. Almond leaves fluttered down, brushing the boy's hair. He looked up, his eyes suddenly no longer those of a child, but of someone who'd seen too much pain. "She says she doesn't want revenge. She just wants someone to light incense for her, and a grave with her name." Nam held his son's shoulders firmly. "All right, I promise. I'll find where she's buried." Lan grabbed his arm, terrified. "Don't, Nam. If you dig into this, what if it turns on us?" Nam met her gaze, voice low but firm. "We owe her. If we don't, our boy will never be free." At dawn, Nam went to the local committee office, asking for old records. The village chief frowned in surprise. "You're asking about Ms. Han? That's ancient history. Folks said she disappeared. No one kept records, people were scared. They called it bad luck." "Someone must have seen something," Nam insisted. The chief thought for a moment. "Well, back then, only old Mrs. Ba lived near her house. And there was Mr. Ku, the well digger. He died years ago, but the well behind her house, I heard it was never properly sealed." Nam's pulse quickened. He hurried home, pulling Lan toward the back garden. They stopped before the overgrown well, half hidden by weeds. Lan's voice trembled. "You're not thinking of digging it up, are you?" Nam nodded. "If she's down there, she deserves at least a prayer." He picked up a shovel and began to dig. The soil was damp, heavy, and reeked faintly of rot. Then, clang. The shovel struck something hard. Nam froze. He brushed the dirt away with his hands, and a piece of bone, white and brittle, emerged from the earth. Lan screamed, collapsing to the ground. Nam stood motionless, whispering, "I'm sorry, let me bring you into the light." A strong gust of wind roared up around him. From the almond tree came a faint laugh, soft, broken, haunting. From inside the house, their son suddenly cried out. "Dad," she says, "there's something else down there." Nam's blood ran cold. He peered into the well. Something metallic glinted faintly, an old, rusted lock. He reached for it. The moment his fingers brushed the metal, a freezing hand shot out from the dirt and clamped around his wrist, yanking hard. Nam tried to scream, but no sound came out. Only the howling wind, the wail of a terrified child echoing from the house. And a whisper, soft, trembling, yet unmistakably human, drifted through the darkness. "Don't open it, not yet." Lan woke in the middle of the night. The world outside was pitch black. Only a thin streak of moonlight slipped through the crack of the door, drawing a pale silver line across the floor. Nam's side of the bed was empty. So was their son's. She bolted upright. "Nam, Nam." No answer. Even the night insects had gone silent. Barefoot, she stepped out onto the porch, the cold ground biting into her skin. Far off, a faint oil lamp flickered beneath the almond tree. Nam was sitting there, holding their son in his arms. The boy was motionless, eyes half open, lips twitching as if whispering to someone unseen. Lan's voice trembled. "My God, what are you doing?" Nam didn't look at her. His voice came out rough, broken. "Look at him, he was talking to someone. I heard it, two voices. One was his, the other was a woman." Lan fell to her knees, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Sweetheart, what were you saying?" The boy turned to her, smiling faintly. "Don't be afraid, Mom, I love you, and she just wants to see her child again." Lan sobbed, clutching him tightly. His small frame was ice cold, as if she were holding something that no longer belonged to the living. Nam's chest felt heavy. "So it's true, what Mrs. Ba said. That woman, Han, she's still here." The boy blinked, his voice fading to a whisper. "She says she died unfairly. No one remembers her. She wants you and Dad to help her find her name again." Nam squeezed his son's hands, breathing fast. "Tell me, who killed her?" The boy shook his head slowly. "She doesn't remember everything, only that the man smelled like liquor and there was the sound of keys. He dragged her out to the almond tree." Lan froze. Nam's voice cracked, almost shouting. "It was How." Lan flinched. "What did you say?" "I remember hearing the elders talk. How worked security at the lumber mill, a drunk. The night she disappeared, he was gone too, missing for days. Then he left the village. No one mentioned it again." The wind swept through the yard, rustling the almond leaves. One leaf drifted down, brushing across the boy's hair. He looked up, and for a moment, the childlike innocence vanished. His eyes carried pain, and something ancient, heavy, and mournful. "She says she doesn't want revenge. She just wants a grave with her name, and someone to light a stick of incense for her." Nam gripped his son's shoulders. "All right, I promise. I'll find where she's buried." Lan grabbed his arm. "Don't be foolish. What if digging into this brings more trouble?" Nam looked straight at her. "We owe her. If we don't, our son will never rest." The next morning, Nam went to the commune office to ask about old records. The village chief frowned, surprised. "You're asking about Ms. Han? That's decades ago. Folks said she vanished. No one kept her file. People were terrified. They called it bad luck." But someone must have seen something. Nam insisted. The chief thought for a moment. Well, back then, only old Mrs. Ba lived next door. And there was Mr. Koo, the well digger. He's been dead for years. But I heard the old well behind her house was never sealed completely. Nam's heartbeat quickened. He rushed home, pulling Lan toward the back of the garden. The well sat there, swallowed by weeds. Lan's voice quivered. You're not actually going to dig it up, are you? Nam nodded. If she's down there, she deserves a prayer. He picked up a shovel and began digging. The earth was damp, heavy, and carried a sour, metallic smell. Then, clang. The shovel struck something hard. Nam froze. He brushed the dirt away with his hands, and a bone, pale and dry, appeared. Lan screamed, collapsing. Nam stood frozen, then whispered, I'm sorry, let me bring you into the light. A sudden gust roared through the yard. From the almond tree came a faint, eerie laugh. Inside the house, their son cried out. Dad, she says, there's something else down there. Nam's heart pounded. He leaned over the well and saw a faint metallic glint beneath the soil. It looked like an old, rusted padlock. As he reached for it, a cold hand shot out of the dirt, clamping onto his wrist and yanking hard. Nam tried to scream, but no sound came. The wind howled louder, mixing with the cries of the boy inside and the whisper of a woman's voice drifting through the night. Don't open it, not yet, asterisk. After that night, the small village fell into an eerie silence. No one spoke about Hao's death. People only whispered that those who had anything to do with the old story were all meeting strange fates, one after another. Nam and Lan packed up and took their son to live with her mother in another town. The little concrete house at the end of the alley was left abandoned. Weeds grew wild across the yard, and the fallen almond leaves covered the path like a blanket of rust. But every night, villagers claimed they could hear 3 slow knocks coming from that house, steady, rhythmic, like the heartbeat of a restless soul. A month later, Nam returned. He told Lan to stay at her mother's place. He needed to go back and see for himself. People said the window in their son's room kept opening on its own every night. The road to the old house was shrouded in fog. Somewhere far away, a dog howled. The damp smell of earth hung heavy in the air. Nam stopped his motorbike, heart pounding. The house stood silent and dark. Only the front door was slightly ajar, as if someone were waiting inside. He pushed the door gently. The rusty hinge creaked, letting out a long metallic wail as a cold gust brushed the back of his neck. Is anyone there? Nam's voice trembled. No reply. He turned on his flashlight, sweeping the beams slowly across the room. Dust covered everything. Spiderwebs hung thick in the corners. It was as if time itself had stopped since the night they left. Suddenly, a faint clink came from the kitchen, the sound of a spoon striking a bowl. Nam spun around, his pulse racing. Who's there? A child's voice whispered softly. Dad, I'm hungry. Nam froze. That voice, it was his son's. Every syllable was clear. But his son was miles away, safe at Lan's mother's house. He stammered. Son, is that you? The voice came again, closer now, right behind him. Dad, don't leave me. Nam swung the flashlight around. No one. Just the faint outline of a small child flickering behind the curtain, before dissolving into the shadows. He yanked the curtain aside. On the dusty floor were tiny wet footprints leading all the way to the window. Nam sank onto a chair, drenched in cold sweat. This can't be real. He grabbed his phone, trying to call Lan, but the screen went black the instant he pressed dial. From the darkness outside came 3 knocks asterisk. Talk, talk, talk? Nam froze. The front door remained half open. Through the thick fog, he saw the outline of a thin woman standing at the doorstep, long hair falling over her face. She didn't step inside. Her hollow eyes fixed on him, and a rasping voice said, "Thank you for keeping your word." But there's still something you haven't returned. Nam's voice shook. What do you want? I gave you a proper burial. I lit incense for you. The woman took one step closer, raising a skeletal hand to point at him. You promised to let me rest, but you left the door unclosed. Now, something else has entered. Something else? Nam whispered, backing away. What do you mean? It isn't me, she said, her voice fading. It followed you, the day you opened the lock. Her figure dissolved into mist. A piercing scream tore through the house, a child's voice, long and echoing from the bedroom. Nam ran in. The bed was shaking violently. From underneath, a blackened arm slithered out, long nails, caked with mud. He stumbled back, shouting, "Get out!" The arm froze, then slowly retracted, leaving behind a dark handprint smeared across the floor. Nam stared, trembling. It's not Han's spirit. Then who? Who is it? He gathered his courage, scanning the room, and shouted, "If anyone's still here, show yourself. I want to know who you are." The wind howled violently. The flashlight flickered. Then, in the mirror across the room, a figure appeared, himself. But the reflection's eyes were hollow, and its face was twisted, warped, as if crushed by invisible hands. The reflection spoke, in his own voice. "You think only one person died in this house? Asterisk." Nam stood frozen before the old mirror hanging in the living room. His face was pale, his eyes wide, staring at the reflection inside, the figure smirking back at him. It looked exactly like him, but twisted, skin darkened, features warped, and blood seeping from the corners of its mouth. A rasping laugh echoed from the mirror. "You opened the lock, you woke me up, now you think you can escape?" Nam stumbled back, trembling, gripping a wooden stick nearby. "Who are you?" "I'm the one buried with that woman. Remember the note? Asterisk, he killed me. He died that same night too." Nam's throat tightened. You're how?" "Yes," the voice sneered. "I died, but couldn't leave. She bound me here, trapped me with her hatred. Now she's gone, and I'm free." Nam shouted, "I had nothing to do with this." "But you opened the lock." The reflection hissed. "You set me loose. Now you owe me your life." The figure in the mirror raised its hand, and Nam's real hand lifted too, as if pulled by invisible strings. He struggled, but his body went rigid. The reflection grinned wider, grotesque. Its voice deepened, vibrating with malice. "From now on, this body belongs to me." The mirror shattered. Shards of glass flew across the room. Nam collapsed to the floor, trembling violently. A sharp piece of glass sliced his hand, blood dripped down, leaving a long dark trail. Where the blood touched the floor, smoke hissed and curled upward. Nam screamed, "Get out of me!" The entire house began to shake as if an earthquake struck. From outside came the familiar three knocks: tock, tock, tock. At that moment, Lan returned home, panic in her voice. "Nam, where are you?" She pushed the door open. The house was dark, lit only by moonlight streaming through the window. In the middle of the room, Nam stood motionless, his back toward her. Lan's voice trembled. "Nam, what's wrong?" He turned around. His eyes were now pitch black, hollow, void of light. When he spoke, his voice was no longer his, it was low, hoarse, like rising from the bottom of a well. "Lan, you're back? I've missed you for so long." Lan staggered backward. "Nam, don't, you're scaring me." He stepped closer. With each step, the wooden floorboards creaked, the wind howled through the house, and the flashlight flickered madly. She cried out, "Nam, stop." Suddenly, a small voice came from the porch, their son's. "Dad, don't let him take you." The little boy stood in the doorway, eyes red, clutching his old doll tightly. His voice shook. "Miss Han told me to protect you." The wind stopped. Moonlight revealed Nam's face, two faces overlapping, his own, and another's, faintly visible beneath the skin. Lan rushed forward, wrapping her arms around him. "Nam, Please, don't let it win. You have to fight it. Come back to us. Nam trembled violently, his eyes flickering with recognition. His voice, faint but his own, whispered, Lan, take our son, and run. The dark presence roared. No, asterisk. The house erupted with a violent gust, windows slammed. The walls groaned. The boy screamed, then threw his doll to the ground. From the broken doll burst a soft white mist, and the figure of Miss Han asterisk appeared, glowing faintly. Her voice was calm but sorrowful. This man doesn't deserve death. The one who killed you has already paid. Let them go. The black shadow shrieked in agony. Nam fell to his knees, clutching his head as blood streamed from his mouth. Lan held him tightly, crying, Nam, please don't leave me. Miss Han extended her hand. A white light surrounded all three of them. The wind stopped. The insects outside began to sing again. In that quiet, Nam collapsed, his breathing shallow. Lan screamed, Nam. Miss Han looked at them one last time. Her voice drifted like wind over the fields. I can rest now. And then she faded away. Lan sobbed, cradling her husband. Nam's eyes fluttered shut, his lips moved weakly. Lan, don't forget to lock the door? The next morning, villagers found the house eerily still. Lan lay unconscious in her husband's cold embrace. On the floor, right before the front door, were 3 black handprints, the same ones that had knocked. Lan clutched Nam's motionless body against her chest. Their little boy stood beside her, eyes red and trembling. The house was drowned in thick darkness, with only faint streaks of moonlight spilling through the window onto the cold floor. She whispered, Nam, please, wake up? But he didn't move. His body was cold and stiff. Lan looked around, tears streaming down her cheeks. A sudden gust of cold wind swept through the porch, pushing the door slightly ajar. Then came the sound, 3 slow knocks. Lan froze, her voice shook. No, no, it can't be. From the shadows, a pale white figure emerged. It wasn't Hao. It wasn't Mrs. Han. It was something else, tall, wearing an old hat, its outline faint and shifting like smoke, standing right at the door. A coarse, chilling voice filled the room. At last, we meet. Lan tightened her arms around her son, backing away. Who are you? The figure tilted its head slightly. Its eyes glowed faintly like burning embers. I am the thing mortals never dare to name. I live on resentment, watching you ever since the night the lock was opened. But now, my time is over too. The figure lifted a hand. A swirl of white mist enveloped Nam, Lan, and their child. They felt their bodies grow weightless, a piercing cold crawling down their spines. The knocking faded away. The white figure dissolved slowly, drifting upward toward the ceiling before vanishing completely into the dark. The house grew unnervingly still. Lan trembled, placing her hand on her husband's face. Nam, please, wake up. Nam drew in a deep, shaky breath. His eyes fluttered open, clear again. Lan, our son, we're still, he whispered weakly, but alive. The boy threw himself into his parents' arms, crying with relief. Dad, you woke up. Lan sobbed uncontrollably, wrapping both of them in her embrace. Outside, the wind had stilled. The almond leaves no longer rustled. The 3 of them stepped out onto the porch, inhaling the damp night air. A soft drizzle began to fall. On the doorstep, the 3 black handprints from the night before had vanished. Only a single white wildflower lay there, wet with dew. Lan picked it up gently, murmuring, Go in peace? Nam took her hand, glancing toward the old almond tree. Maybe now, we'll never hear the knocking again. But from the far end of the alley, where the shadows still lingered, the wind whispered faintly through the leaves. 3 soft taps, barely audible, like a quiet reminder that lost souls still wandered nearby. Lan turned, holding her child close. It's all right, we've made it through. Nam nodded, looking up at the crescent moon. A strange calm filled the house, peaceful, yet haunted by the faint echo of the knocking that would forever linger in memory. The story ends here. Thank you for listening until the very end. If you enjoyed this tale, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world to us and helps us create more chilling ghost stories for you to enjoy. If you have any questions, thoughts, or found any mistakes in the story, feel free to comment below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next tale, only on *Bong Toi Trong Dem. Disclaimer. The story you've just heard is a work of fiction, created purely for entertainment purposes to deliver a thrilling horror experience. We do not promote superstition or any dangerous actions mentioned in this story. Any resemblance to real people, places, or events is purely coincidental. Thank you for being part of Bong Toi Trong Dem.